Today we are going to make lasagna, one of my favorite things on the planet. No exaggeration. Except this lasagna is a little bit different. I call it my East meets West lasagna. We're all familiar with the Western Italian style lasagnas, all the different flavors and ways of making that. Today we're going to make that integrated with Eastern style, like Southeast Asia, Southern China flavors integrated into one. And hopefully they'll come together nicely. I've worked really hard on making this recipe come together, so I hope you guys enjoy it too. If you like what you see, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's hit it. Okay, for our first step, I did say this is an East meets West. So for the meat, we're using duck meat. And there's no need to be scared when I mention duck versus chicken, for example. I mean, duck is a wonderful tasting bird. The skin's a little thicker, a little fattier, a little oilier, but I'll show you how to take care of that. So what I've got here are actually duck breasts. I've got about 1.5 pounds of duck breast, rather than roasting a whole duck just so we can make lasagna from it. So a lot of people, like I said, shy away from duck. They're afraid of doing it, or they just think it's not worth it. They don't think it's all it's quacked up to be. But it's actually a delicious ingredient to use if you do it right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to slice the fatty skin layer. We're going to slice across without slicing through to the meat itself. And we're just going to score that. Again, being careful not to cut all the way through. We just want to score it, and then what we're going to do is rub salt, which will help extract that oil and render that fat. And this will go a lot quicker than if we went to roast an entire duck, which you can do also. And again, like I said, we're rubbing that salt in there where we just scored the fat. The reason is that'll help extract and render that fat while we're baking it. So don't be afraid to be liberal with the salt. We're going to use a roasting pan. We've preheated the oven to 425 degrees. And next we're going to lay these guys across the rack in the roasting pan. The oil should drip out of there. Put that fat side down. Gonna wash the hands. I'm just super clean when it comes to working in the kitchen. The duck is roasting. The next step we're gonna do is make our basic tomato sauce. Now let me stress a few things. Since we are merging the traditional Western tomato sauces with the Eastern flavors, you have to be careful. We don't want acid, we don't want sour. We want some sweetness in the tomato sauce that we make. On that note, if you would remember my pizza episode, I stressed how I love using San Marzano tomatoes. They're chunkier, less acidity. They're just a wonderful tomato to use for any tomato sauce. So we're going to be using those for this recipe as well. I'm also going to be sweetening it up a little bit with a little bit of honey. And I'll give you a little advance on the sauce that's for the duck. We're going to be putting some hoisin, which is Chinese barbecue sauce, especially from Guangdong province of China, southern China, and Hong Kong also, and also parts of Vietnam. So it's basically Chinese barbecue sauce. And we're going to be adding some of that in there so that when they come together, the tomato sauce and the duck sauce, it blends nicer. So on that note, well, first thing, Emily, I need you to come here and take care of my can.
Oh God, really?
Yes.
Really?
Chop, chop.
Chubby Gourmet?
Chop, chop. It's doing it.
Crappiest can opener ever.
That's the last time I listened to you. Right, Lily? Our duck's been in the oven for about 20 minutes, to be exact. Now, duck, unlike chicken, ideally you'd like no more cooked than medium in the center. And I've already cut this sucker open, and we're beyond medium rare. We're at medium, which is roughly 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So now what the point is, we're going to take this duck and we're gonna shred it. We're gonna make shredded duck. Then we're gonna prepare our sauce for the duck. So without further ado, let's shred. Done shredding the duck, and just FYI, it doesn't have to be shredded duck. It could be shredded, diced, combination of shredded and diced. I mixed up a little shredded and mostly diced. It's quicker that way to prepare. What I've done is I've gotten our ingredients for our tomato sauce ready. I've got one diced Vidalia onion, which is a sweet onion. Again, we're going sweet because we're trying to go east meeting west, right? We don't want them clashing. We want them mixing together. I've got 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, thinly sliced. I've got 3 Turkish bay leaves, not California bay leaves. As I mentioned in the previous video, the Turkish bay leaves have a greater depth of flavor instead of that stronger flavor. California bay leaves are great too, but I prefer using Turkish. Some chopped fresh oregano, chopped fresh garlic. So we're gonna start off with olive oil. We're gonna heat our Dutch oven. You don't need to use a Dutch oven. I just prefer cooking in cast iron myself. Which is why I'm using one. So any pot should do, but again, I like the cast iron. What I'm gonna do now is add a couple of tablespoons of virgin olive oil. And the first thing is, if I can get it open, that is, we're going to saute the onions. Always add oil to a hot pan. Get the oil heated up. We don't want to caramelize the onions. We just want to get them soft and translucent. Then we'll add the garlic. We're going to saute them until another few minutes. It'll take up to 5 minutes for the onions to be transparent and cooked through, not caramelized. Okay, we've been sauteing the onion about 5, maybe 6 minutes now. Now I'm going to add the sliced garlic and only cook for maybe a minute. Our onion and garlic is ready. We're going to add 1 small can of tomato paste. We're going to saute that for maybe a minute and a half. Don't want to burn it. I've lowered the heat a little bit because again, I am cooking in cast iron. Spreading that sauce all around the veggies that I got in there. Haven't even added any seasoning yet and it smells good. Now we're adding our tomatoes with their juices. And I'm going to add about 1/4 of a can of water with that. And I'm going to mush these tomatoes down too while they're simmering in here. And simmer implies we lower the heat. We're going to let this simmer for about 15 minutes before we add the remaining ingredients. Well, we've been simmering about 15 minutes. You could take a look here. And see it's starting to reduce a little bit. It's quite pulpy. I'm only going to add the bay leaves right now and the oregano. I'm going to hold off to add the basil until I add the final ingredients at the end. Now this I'm going to let sit again. We've still got another 15-20 minutes to go to let this simmer. So it was an extra 20 minutes. Take a quick look at this. Pan down, pan down. We are all good to go. So what I'm going to do now is add a little bit of baking soda to remove some acidity. Not that there should be an abundance of acid because we use San Marzano, but still, again, I'm mixing east to west. I don't want this, I want this. So I don't want acid if I can avoid it. So we give that another minute to simmer and do its magic. Then I'm going to be seasoning with some salt and black pepper, and we'll add the basil. Some freshly ground black pepper to taste. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many teaspoons that you should put. That's a personal thing. So we stir that in there. And time to season this without overdoing it. So a couple of teaspoons to start. And add in the fresh basil. Now we're going to try and sweeten it up a little bit so that it blends with the sauce that's going to get mixed with the duck. So I've got some of my hoisin sauce here. We're going to go 2 teaspoons to a tablespoon, actually. So that's 1, 2, 3 teaspoons. And then a little bit of honey. And then at this point, we're gonna, again, let it stir, let it settle and blend, and we're gonna taste it and check if we need any more of anything. Just where I want it. So now we've got our tomato sauce prepared. Next, we're gonna make the sauce, the eastern side of the equation, that's gonna get mixed with the duck meat. So first ingredient, take out our measuring cup, it's the hoisin. As I mentioned earlier, hoisin is Chinese barbecue sauce. We're going to put about a cup of that. About a half a cup of vegetable stock. A tablespoon of sesame oil. And this is important. And we're going to season that with basically about a half teaspoon of garlic powder. Now let's go over to the stove and heat this baby up. I just want to keep stirring because I want to get it nice and consistent. Because the barbecue sauce is kind of thick, all the other ingredients are watery. Should only take 2 or 3 minutes. I'm chopping up the parsley. What I'm going to do is add this to our cheese mix. We're using 4 different cheeses for this lasagna, because what's lasagna without cheese? We're using Pecorino Romano, because the Pecorino blends better with the East meets West continuity. We're adding Fontina cheese, which you don't often find in lasagnas. And mozzarella, of course. As any lasagna would have, plenty of ricotta. So I will chop this up. And we're going to add the cheese mix into a bowl in our Cuisinart mixer, because it's just a lot easier than doing it by hand. Since I have the mixer, might as well let it do the job. Okay, we're going to start off measuring 2 cups of the pecorino. Sorry about that, wrong gender. 1. I got another one here someplace. And actually that is about a cup, so we're just going to throw that baby in there. I am going to grate the Fontina, and the ricotta is already ready to go, so we'll add that last. We got 2 cups of pecorino, we only need 1 cup of the Fontina. And you don't have to tape me grating cheese. Pecorino is 2 cups, Fontina is 1 cup. The ricotta is 16 ounces. Okay, now I'm adding the mozzarella. We've got the pecorino, we've got the Fontina, we're adding the mozzarella. It's about 8 ounces of fresh mozz. Ooh, fresh. Oh, mozzarella. Doesn't need to be grated, just mushed up and ground up in there. Done. Now the ricotta. We are putting 16 ounces or 2 cups of ricotta that we're adding to this. There's 1. What? Oops. Got a little carried away on that one. Now we're going to use the mixer to mix it up nice and uniform.
How do you use a mixer?
How to use a mixer? Very easy. You put on the blade that you want, the attachment, you plug it in, and always start off slow. Actually, it helps if you raise the pan too. Okay, there we go. So now you can see it's much easier. You get a much more uniform blend of cheese doing it this way. And we are done. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, we've mixed our cheese pretty uniformly now. Now I'm adding in the chopped parsley. And I'm gonna go back to the mixer. As usual, let the mixer do the work. Okay, the lasagna noodles, the nudes. What we're gonna use is what's readily available these days. It's called oven ready. And what oven ready means is that you could theoretically now take these, build your lasagna without boiling the noodles first. And that's really not 100% true. So we are going to boil the noodles first and then assemble our lasagna from there. While we're waiting for the water to boil, for us to boil the nudes that I just mentioned, we're gonna take our duck meat and we're gonna take that sauce, the East sauce, and we're gonna mix the sauce with the duck meat. This way we're prepared. As we take the noodles out of the pot, we can start assembling our lasagna. And I'm just nothing magical here. I'm just trying to get them all uniformly coated, all the pieces of the duck. Okay, we're boiling our water for our nudes, as I mentioned. Throwing a little bit of salt in there.
Why?
To season the nudes, number one. Number two, it actually raises the boiling point temperature of the water.
Really?
Yes, it does. Serious.
Liar.
All right, I'm lying. Talk to my lawyer. Okay, our water's boiling. Time to add some nudes. Like I said, these are oven ready, but don't buy it. I mean, don't purchase it, but don't believe it. It's better to cook them first. What we're gonna do is assemble the lasagna from here. We'll take these noodles out one at a time. I'll take my forceps, clean my noodles out. We don't have to cook these all the way through because we're still gonna cook the lasagna. We're gonna bake the lasagna, I should say. Pan that we cook the lasagna in does not have to be this big. Again, it's up to you. It's up to your discretion. Now some tomato sauce. And we're gonna put a thin layer of our tomato sauce. We're gonna remove the bay leaves. Sorry I didn't mention that sooner. You do not want those bay leaves in there.
Bay leaves just for flavor?
Bay leaves are for flavor, and these are not fresh bay leaves. They are dried bay leaves.
And what?
So they will cut you if you eat them inside. You do not want those in there. And this isn't magic. This is just the order that I like adding them. I like to put a little bit of a wall, a Chinese wall, between the tomato sauce and the Eastern duck sauce.
Great wall.
A great wall. And this time, before I add the meat, I am going to put another layer of noodles because the hoisin sauce and then the cheese and the tomato sauce is just going to all blend, and I do want some separation. It will make a difference when you're eating it. You'll see. Now the duck meat. So what we've got is the first layer, noodles. Second layer, tomato sauce. Third layer, we've got the cheese mix. Fourth layer, we have the duck and its sauce. And then we split that with another layer of noodles. And we're gonna put one more complete layer on here. And it doesn't have to be neatly perfect on here because we're gonna squish them together with the noodles anyway and make a big sandwich out of it. Okay, so we've got 2 full layers of ingredients, and on the top I put the remaining duck meat, tomato sauce, and cheese mixture. Now, and this is very important, we're going to cover it in aluminum foil, bake it at a preheated oven of 350, which we've preheated already, for 45 minutes. Oh, about 25 pounds.
Many minutes later.
And there we go. I did kind of toss it violently onto the plate, but shouldn't make any difference. Let's see how this baby came out. You could taste the tomato sauce, you can taste the hoisin, and they blend together. They don't collide or fight with each other. Not bad. Those chunks of duck are better than the shredding of the duck too, by the way. I think I'm just gonna keep eating this. Well, it was worth the effort. East meets West. Thank you for joining us for today's episode and for today's creation. And please, if you like what you see, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like and comment, and hasta lasagna.